Hello children. In this video let us discuss about the last part of the lesson Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. In life every man has twin obligations. Obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. Nelson Mandela mentions that every man has twin obligations. The first one is to his family, parents, wife, and children. The second obligation is to his people, his community, and his country. But unfortunately, not everyone in South Africa were free to fulfill his or her obligations because of the color of the skin. Only white people were allowed to do so, but the black people were not free. If a black person ever tried to fulfill his or her obligations, he was punished and isolated for being a rebellion. Even they were punished who attempted to live as a human being. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johnsonburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family. The freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk, I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Dear children, now let's understand what freedom meant to Mandela during his childhood and how did Mandela's understanding of freedom change with age and experience. During childhood, the meaning of freedom for Mandela was quite limited. He considered it to be free to run in the fields, to swim in the clear stream, free to toast mealies and ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls. He wanted to stay out at night. It was a transitory freedom or temporary freedom. As a young boy, he thought that he was born free and believed that as long as he obeyed his father and abided by the customs of his tribe, he was free in every possible manner. As he grew older, freedom to raise a family and freedom to earn livelihood started dominating his thoughts. Gradually, he realized that he was selfish during his boyhood. He slowly understood that it was not just his freedom that was being curtailed, but the freedom of all blacks. It was the freedom from fear and prejudice. Age and experience widened Mandela's perspective of freedom. So, he joined African National Congress. His hunger for freedom became great for the freedom of people of his nation. He desired for them to live their lives with dignity and respect. Mandela does not think that the oppressor is free because, according to him, an oppressor is a victim of hatred who is behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. He realizes that both the oppressor and the oppressed are robbed of their humanity and peace. He desired that everyone should be given the right to live his life with dignity and respect. He wanted the oppressor and the oppressed to be liberated, as no one is free if one is taking someone else's freedom. Only such feelings can bring true freedom for everyone. Dear children, in this part we have discussed what are the twin obligations that every man has according to Mandela, how Mandela's understanding of freedom changed with age and experience, how did his hunger for freedom change his life, and his views on the oppressor and the oppressed. I hope you have understood this part. Happy learning.